What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another very exciting episode right here on the MIgardener channel. In today's episode, it's open season. We're not hunting for any animals, we're hunting for apple trees. We're gonna be talking all about why you should be hunting for wild apples, why it's important, how to do it, and how we make this as part of our kind of winter pastime. So we're in the car, we're apple hunting, and the reason why we do it in the winter time is because we could do it in the summer, but it's really hard to do it in the summer because in the summer we're busy in the garden, we're busy with other things, and in the winter we just have more downtime. And with the right eye and the right technology, you can go apple hunting even in the winter. Now, you might be asking, Luke, why are you apple hunting? It seems like such a random thing. However, for us, apple hunting is a way to find hidden varieties that are not cultivated. You're gonna be asking, well, how are they not cultivated? It's because any apple that grows from a seed is genetically unique to every other apple that's ever existed in the entire world. If you've ever had a Macintosh, those all came from one tree. How did you get multiple trees? How do you have millions of trees in existence? They take cuttings from those trees and graft them on to an apple rootstock, basically giving you a genetic clone of that apple. But if you were to take a Granny Smith apple, it's been cross-pollinated between 2 to 5, up to 10 or 15 different apples, giving you such a wide genetic pool to choose from with pollen that you have no idea what you're going to get. It can even cross-pollinate with crab apples. Anything within a 5-mile radius that can cross-pollinate will have cross-pollinated, and you end up with a really robust gene pool. Apples are a sign of civilization because when apples were brought over from Europe, the Europeans basically brought over with them apple seedlings. When settlers would move out west, they would have an agreement that they would give you land as long as you would plant apple trees. Hence the name Johnny Appleseed. Started a nursery, believe it or not, and the nursery supplied settlers going out west with apple seedlings. So essentially, apples are a sign of civilization. And what happens is you'd be eating an apple, and if you were in a horse and buggy, a carriage, or walking, hiking, or even driving your car, throw that apple core out and it germinates. Those seeds germinate and they sprout. And that's why we're driving on roads. That's why we are actually putting in miles, because we're trying to find places that have been traveled for hundreds of years where people have thrown apples out, and those apples have sprouted and have never been cut down. They're one-of-one apples. Now, the way you apple hunt is not by going through residential areas, because most apples that have been growing in a residential area, if they are right around a home site, even if you're kind of slightly out in the country, if they're by a home, there's like about a 90 to 95% chance those have been planted. They probably already have a name and they're not genetically unique. There's really nothing very special about them. What we're trying to do is we're trying to go out in ditches, windrows, especially windrows. Windrows are my favorite place to find apples. Ditches and windrows where they've just been growing there. The reason why we're going out in the country is just because there's less of a chance. You really truly get, I guess, the highest probability of finding something unique, which, who knows, could be the next Granny Smith. It could be the next Gala. It could be the next Honeycrisp. It could be the next Macintosh. You never know what the next apple is going to be, and it really just comes down to how it tastes, the texture, the growth habits, and the story behind it. Sometimes it's just a really good story that people want to experience. That's what you have a chance of finding out here. It's the thrill of the hunt. Here's the thing is, these apple trees, they are dormant right now. They don't have any leaves on them. So if you don't know what to look for, you're gonna have kind of a tough time, a hard time identifying. What you're looking for is kind of a squatty tree. Apples and pears, but mostly apples, are squatty. They're low to the ground, and their branches, they come down and they make a curve up. That's a very clear indicator for us that it's not a crab apple. Crab apples will have that very similar apple shape to the branches when they're dormant. The problem is a lack of weight. And that's what can tell you that it's a great apple and has a lot of potential, is by looking for the curve. Because what happens when the branches are laden with fruit is it weighs them down. And then because they're trying to grow towards the sunlight, they grow up, and that gives them that really signature shape. to the branches. Pretty cool. Little fun fact, you want to look for that squatty tree, that really squatty tree, anywhere between roughly about 10 feet and 15 to 20 feet max. So we just passed a tree here. I'm gonna get on Google. So it's definitely an apple species. I just don't know if it's a crab apple or not. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at different dates. We're gonna look October and see. Oh yeah, baby. Okay, cool. We definitely have an apple tree. This is good. This is really good. This is very, very good. Okay, so there's a few apples in October of 2021. I'm gonna block out my thumb so you can't see so I'm gonna block out the address. But you can see pretty clearly there's an apple there. There's an apple there. In October, a lot of these, this tells me it's probably an earlier apple. Absolutely in the middle of the side, side of a ditch, no one's yard. It's in a windrow. Like I said, windrows are my favorite place to find apples. We're gonna park our car here on the side of the road here and we're gonna run across and I'll show you what we do. Now, again, mind you, this is not on someone's property. This is on a street easement. It's so important. If it's on someone's property, if you think it's on someone's property, ask for permission. So check it out. So look at this beautiful, oh my gosh, look at this gorgeous apple tree. This thing, absolutely beautiful. And so what you would do is essentially in the spring, we'd come out here and we would cut what's called scion wood. And we would just cut off about this much. And then we would take them and we would actually graft them onto a rootstock, basically giving us a genetic clone of this tree that's been here based on the trunk and how big this tree is. It's squatty, it's low to the ground. We're talking maybe 20, 25 feet tall. This thing is a beast and it absolutely is gonna be a contender on the farm. We've actually located roughly about between 30 and 40 wild apple trees that we can guarantee are wild cultivars, one of ones. This was not planted here. This has been here for probably 60 to 70 years and it's still growing strong. So very, very cool. Also another thing to note, no other apple trees anywhere. If there was 2 or 3 other apple trees in close proximity, you could probably guess that it was probably planted because apples don't sprout like that. Typically you're gonna have 1, maybe 2 at most that grow. But that is a beautiful, beautiful apple tree. So if we're gonna mark that, come back to it in a couple months. So in this image here, we just looked, this was 5 years ago. When Google drove by and took a picture of the street view, it was actually flowering too, which gives us further confirmation. So if you can't find the fruit, this at least helps you to identify if it's an apple or not. That is gorgeous, look at that thing. Very productive, so beautiful. So that makes me excited. You guys, this is crazy. Not only have we found a wild apple tree, it's in the middle of a ditch, but we have an apple tree that still has hanging fruit on it. And this is a really great sign because this is such an important sign to heritage apples. So many of the modern day apples, they have what's called winterfall. And winterfall was done to cut down on disease. Now it might seem like a bad thing, but a lot of these traits have been bred out of existence because the fruits will oftentimes attract something like a pest or a disease like fire blight to the hanging fruit. And so the fact that these are on here in January is mind-blowing. And so we found 2 in one day. 2 in one day. I'm grinning ear to ear, baby. This is incredible. Absolutely incredible. I'm gonna try to get one. I can't get you. It's such a deep ditch. Oh man, I might fall on my butt. Where? Right here? It is so rotten. This one is really, really rotten. This one is excessively rotten. Tastes rotten. But there are some really pretty ones up there that I wish I could grab. I can't reach them. But I'm having a good day. Woo! And so I kind of just thought, like, you know, sometimes when you look at trees, if they're green, you might call them like a greening apple. If they're yellow, they might be like a golden delicious or something like that. You tie in some characteristics or names. Granny Smith was, you know, probably named after a grandma or an aunt. And so there's you know, significance to the name. I think what I'm gonna call that one, birthday apple. Birthday apple. And the reason why is because it holds its fruit until my birthday, which is so rare. It's so hard to find something like that. And so I think I'm gonna call it birthday apple. I think that's what I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna put a little note in there and come back. Even if it doesn't taste good, the fact that it holds its fruit on that long, that's significant. That's pretty cool. And so, yeah, birthday apple. I like that. You guys will never believe this. We found a third apple driving back to the office. We were just driving down a different country road, different view. Maybe we'd find something else. And lo and behold, we found another apple. We found another wild apple here growing in this ditch. This one is a lot newer, which is really exciting because this one here, the trunk size is much smaller, as you can see. I mean, it's maybe only a 2-inch diameter trunk, meaning it's relatively new. And that's exciting because you're going to have a wide variety of traits from a whole host of modern day apples being thrown into the bunch. Maybe no modern varieties, but it's just been dropped here fresh. And it just is so exciting to see. They're much smaller, which tells us that it most likely crossed at some point with a small crabapple, because the traits from the crabapple, they're much smaller apples. Despite the fact there are some hanging fruit still, they've shriveled pretty significantly. I would kind of compare it to a snow apple. I'll try to have Hannah post a picture of a snow apple. They're a much smaller, tiny little famous, we actually grew a variety called famous snow apple at the farm. And that's kind of what it's reminiscent of fruit size. But the fact that it's still on the tree tells us it's an apple, and we're excited about it because we're looking for apple varieties. So I'm gonna mark this coordinate, give some characteristic notes about it, and we'll see it again in a couple months. You guys, I can't make this up. We just found a fourth apple. A fourth apple. I swear we've gotten such good luck right now. This one also still has fruit. This one's just growing again in a ditch. Absolutely so crazy. I'm gonna try to see if I can get one. It's really, really exciting. Oh my gosh. These are so cool. Okay, whoa, there we go. Oh my gosh, the ditch, it's deep. Oh my goodness, look at, we got apples. This is gonna be a little polish. It's gonna be a frozen apple, but wow, that's gonna be a good apple. And I'm tasting a rotten apple basically. Wow, I freaking love my job. All right, so the final thing you're probably wondering is, well, how do you mark where they are? How do you remember where they're at? Well, it's pretty simple. Once we've located, we have a beautiful apple tree, one that's producing large apples, that has good genetics, a good healthy growth habit. What we do is we simply drop a pin. When you drop a pin here, this gives you the coordinates to the exact location of where you dropped the pin, the exact location. You follow those coordinates, you plug those into Google, it will take you right there. You just copy that, and then you make a note. I'll make a note list of all the different apple trees, and I typically will screenshot a picture of what the apple kind of looked like, or the plant. I'll have that in the notes section, and then that allows me to then track back those apple trees to those exact coordinates, exactly where they are, and that helps you to not lose track of where they're at. Pretty handy, like kind of combining technology, a little bit of field work, and a little bit of know-how, just some time to find some amazing apples. And again, I want to stress the importance of respect. A couple different things. One, if you find an apple that you think is just incredible, take only enough cuttings for what you need. You don't need to be a hog. And then have respect for the landowners. If it is someone's property, absolutely just knock on their door and ask. If you worry you're going to get in trouble, move on. There are thousands, if not millions, of apples growing in dishes, growing in windrows, growing in fields that are not in close proximity to someone's house where there's even a question of, if it's their property, if it's, something that they're going to be worried about you taking a couple cuttings from. And then the third and final thing with respect is make sure that the cuttings that you're taking in the spring, we'll talk about this, we'll do a follow-up, make sure that the cuttings are taken with sanitized pruners. Make sure in between each cut, you sanitize your pruners with isopropyl alcohol, and make sure that you're not transmitting diseases from tree to tree, because again, that's the fastest way to kill off trees, and it's the fastest way to ruin the reputation for apple hunting. So I hope you all enjoyed. I really hope that you'll try to do this. This is such an important thing that you can do to increase biodiversity, to increase the overall quantity of apples in the world, but also on top of it all, it's the fastest way to get food into the hands of others, because growing an apple tree, I know people that will take these apples, they'll plant them in a field, and they'll basically just say, hey, here's some free apples. You throw them in a park, in a hidden area, apple tree grows up, feeds people. An apple tree can yield hundreds of pounds of food in a given season. They're super easy to grow, and it's just all around an amazing tree with great history. And who knows, you might find, like I said, you might find the next Macintosh or Granny Smith. And so it's like I said, it's the thrill of the hunt. So I hope you all enjoyed. If you have any questions, post them in the comments box down below. We'll be doing a follow-up coming back to these trees to take cuttings in the spring. So make sure you subscribe, follow along for that. And I'm super excited about what's to come. So it's a great saga that we're going to begin here on the channel, and I'm really excited about it. So thank you all so much. And as always, this is Luke from the MIgardener channel, reminding you to grow bigger. Take care. Have a good one. Bye. Hey, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed, consider clicking this one. You'll probably enjoy it just as much. I want to thank you for your viewership, because without it, this channel would not be as amazing as it is. Also, if you haven't subscribed, consider subscribing. It's free, and we upload videos every Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. We also have vegetable seeds, fertilizer, or tools. If you need any of those, consider visiting MIgardener.com. Links will be in the description box below. We've got you covered. And as always, we'll see you all in the garden. Take care. Bye.